Good afternoon.
All right. Let's try that again. I didn't hear anything from this table. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All right. Want to be sure that everybody's awake. After lunch, people normally try to go to sleep. So we want to be sure that you're awake. For the next few minutes, I'm going to address a vision. And I will start with the fact that this vision has to be a vision from God, because I just couldn't get this thing out of my head, so I had to deal with it. And I tried to leave it alone, but it just wouldn't go away. So I had to deal with it. Go ahead, Ricky. Next program. So what I'm going to cover today is School to Success. And there are 7 major areas. I'll talk about the history of it. I'll talk about the curriculum development, the research and development process, which is an investment into the future of our children in America, the major areas of concern, in fact, the need for School to Success. And then I'll talk about the pilot test where we actually tested. And I will also address some of the results, or the most important results of the test, and the dissertation research study itself. And, of course, the implementation plan, which has already been implemented in California. We're in several schools in California as we speak. And I'll talk a little bit about that. Okay, next slide. Okay, background. This actually started with a problem that I experienced myself, and I'll tell you what that problem is. As a young person, I had learned how to do many things. And what comes to mind is about 20 different things, and I would take pride in the fact that if I do all these things, I would never be unemployed because I know how to do too many things. But when you travel as much as I have and move and live in different areas, the market change and you learn new things. And one of the things I learned about California, you need to specialize. So if you are doing 20 different things, then when you leave one of the 20, you've dropped off. And if somebody's still doing that, they're still on that road and there's still things need to be done. So having said that, I could not decide, knowing that I was going to go to college, I could not decide what my major would be. In other words, I couldn't take these 20 things and decide which one I like best. I needed to, for the first time, decide what a college major would be, or a trade school major, or a major in some type of curriculum after high school. You see, in high school, K-12 or K through 12, you do not see and you do not have to worry about a major. Everything is general. There are courses, nobody talks about that. But now, once you leave high school, now we start to talk about, well, what are you going to do next year? And that means, what major is that? So having looked at this and having had the thought on my mind for so long, what I decided to do was to investigate this to see if this problem still exists today. So about 3 or 4 years ago, I conducted a study at Southern California High School, 907 students, 7-question survey instrument that basically said, asked them, what do you want to do? And that's a part of the workbook that has been designed. Surprisingly, the 9th graders, about 85% said they knew. 10th graders, it dropped to about 70%. And then the 11th graders, it was about 65% when by the time I had gotten to the 12th graders, it was about 45% who admitted initially, I really don't know what I want to be or do. So I said, well, this problem still exists today. Now, I had been working on this thing for a long time. So the research and development was about 13 years that I recorded. Now, I've been working, I've had the issue long before that. And then I worked on it part-time, and then there was a 2 years curriculum development pilot study. All in total, it was 15 years that I recorded, $300,000 in research. That's the cost when I calculate everything. $20,000 a year. Okay, now, those funds and that time period allow me to look at every aspect of this curriculum, every component of it, at least 3 times, every area, and most 5 to 7 times. So I've looked at each area more than 1 time, and I know from the results that it works. Now, what are the 2 main problems that came out of this? One, high school students lack clear goals. I was one of those. You know, it's broad to say you want to go to college. Well, what are you going to do when you get there? Okay. Secondly, high school career counseling is inadequate. Why? One, we do not have enough counselors. 2, when we have counselors, the counselors are doing things other than career planning and development. Thirdly, the career counselor, if he or she is trying to do the job, if they're short on teachers and the counselor certificated, guess what? That counselor's in the classroom doing what? Teaching. Now, this study has given me a real good appreciation for teachers, because I realize now what the teacher has to do. The teacher really has a job. The business world does not understand the role of the teachers, the role of educators, and the educators and teachers, for the most part, does not understand the business world. So we have these 2 environments, if you will. The environment of education and the environment of the business world. Now, why is it that they don't understand? Well, it's like a caterpillar. Not the caterpillar, it's like a butterfly in the caterpillar. The butterfly, you're dealing with the butterfly in the K-12 environment. Now, change is occurring on an ongoing basis. And let me say something in defense of teachers. I think teachers, for the most part, are doing an excellent job. And I learned this through research. And here's why. A teacher, number one, has about 6 hours a day to teach. And if they're teaching, and let's use math as an example. If there's a 10-step math problem, the teacher might need 3 class sessions or 3 days to get that student to go through the 10 steps and learn how they work. Does that make sense? Okay. Secondly, the written report. The teacher has to teach how to write a report. Now, first, the 8 parts of speech. You know, they need to be logically arranged in the sentence and paragraphs. So you write a sentence, a complete sentence. Then you go to writing a paragraph, and then you go from there. Well, the business world says, I need a report. Okay? So now here's the butterfly and the caterpillar. The butterfly you're dealing with the butterfly, and the student knows how that looks. It looks like a butterfly. But now, that butterfly turns into a caterpillar. Now the student doesn't recognize it. So what I'm saying is the same report that the student does in school, they don't recognize it now in the world of work, because it looks differently to them. And nobody is teaching this. Why? The teachers really don't have time to teach. So if we get the teachers to do what they do, which is teach them the mechanics of what they're doing, like Charlotte was saying. The good teacher teach. And if they stop there, somebody has to take it from there and move it on to the next level. Okay? Now, one of the things the business world needs to understand is precisely that. They don't realize that what has occurred. Okay? Now, the 2-year pilot test was sponsored by the city of Inglewood, South Bay Workforce Investment Board, South Bay Center for Counseling, Innovative Education System, and McCutcheon Research Corporation. The funds went in, and the study was conducted with sponsorships. Now, over a period of about 2.5 years, and I recorded 2, we trained more than 1,000 students ages 4 to 92. Wow. Wide range, broad range. Everybody's in the class. Now, how did that happen? Well, I developed a train-the-trainer program, whereby I train others to do what I do. I was asked many times, well, how are you going to clone yourself? Okay, well, I'll clone through a train-the-trainer concept. And I did. I trained young people. There's a computer component to this thing. And I trained them.